Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to Elite Physique University. I'm John Gorman, your host here once again with Jason Theobald. What's going on, man? How's your Thursday?
It's a good Thursday. I don't know about you, but we just finished up a block of about 80-degree weather. It's getting chillier again, but still like 60 and sunny. So, yeah, I mean, it's a good day. Just cranking out work and got some training in.
Yeah, we talked about this on one of the prior podcasts. It's always like the week of Halloween, the weather just turns to shit. It's all
Yep, that's what we
just
got through.
nasty, cold, dark, and then the damn weather change. So
Yep.
I know we're quietly talking behind the scenes about getting down to Tampa for one of our Elite Physique University seminars. We're working on dates, so hang tight on that. And I know you've got some PEC stuff coming up. We're going to let everybody know about seminars coming up soon. What's new with you, man? You've got any classes coming up that people can jump in and check out?
Yeah, so we just had the gut course, so that won't be ran again probably till December. But I might offer something else. We'll see. And then I have the metabolic adaptations with hormonal downregulation class hitting November 29th. I'm looking at the list. Looks like I have 10 signed up. I'll take probably 15 if there's still some interested. So if you are interested, it's easiest just to email me. I think John's dropping my email in the show notes.
Yep.
I'll send you the brochure. It tells you exactly what we go over, and if it sounds like something that you can use for yourself or your coaching, you can hop in. So
Yeah.
other than that, it's a pretty standard week here. Nothing new really to report. Training's going pretty well. My back's been bothering me a little bit. I got some dry needling done last week. That shit was pretty painful. But other than that, there's not much else hopping right now.
Well, so we've got a short episode today. It's a hell of an episode though. We've got four really good questions. Talk to us about the dry needling. That was your first time
Yeah.
getting that done. Are
Yeah.
you a fan? Like, do you feel better after it? Are you a
I do
believer?
feel better. Like my back was doing something weird. Like when I would just bend over to try to put on pants, it would like ache and hurt, and like it would hurt to get out of bed. But like once I got loosened up training, I could train through it. But I'm like, man, there's obviously some muscular imbalance. So I went to see her, and she did, a full workup and said, yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with your skeletal system. I think it's definitely muscular. So what they do is they find trigger points, which are basically hot spots where you're knotted up and the muscle's not elongated like it should be. It's more, think of it being more shortened and kind of clamped up. And as a bodybuilder, I mean, that's what we're doing the whole time, right? We're shortening and lengthening, shortening and lengthening. So she found these spots, and if I didn't have a horrible spot, it wasn't too painful, but my shit was like quivering and locking up. And that's the trigger point, like releasing. And basically they drive this needle into the trigger point, and then they like move it around while it's in there.
Like twist it and shit.
Yeah. And so like when she finds a spot that like she can feel quivers and releases, she goes at it more. I think if you're not too knotted up, it really wouldn't feel that bad, but as tight as I am and I don't get a whole lot of work done, it's my own fault. It really wasn't a fun experience, but it was helpful. And I will go back. I'm just trying to kind of work through it right now with heat, using a few anti-inflammatories as least as I can. And then I don't do anything hanging from the waist right now. And I'm trying to just baby it. But I mean, at this point in my training career, I use more machines than anything else anyways. A lot of it, my back, my chest is supported on back work. And, for me, it's all about feel and squeezing those muscles, and anything I feel good at really anymore is a lot of machines. I don't, I'm then under deadlifting and squatting 500 pounds. So I'm working around it, and hopefully it'll work out.
Is it low back?
Yeah, it's low back, like low back, like kind of where it becomes like just like a hard plated area into the tailbone. And that's where it's at.
One other thing too, I've noticed talking with a lot of people, and then, people that are on HRT, you take a lot of injections in the glutes. There's a lot of scar tissue there.
Yeah,
It
it
just
gets tight.
really tighten up and wreak hell on the lower back.
Yep.
So maybe, if you're out there listening and you are on HRT and you've been on it for quite a while, did she mention to you anything about glutes or anything like
Well,
that?
she did. She freaking did my glutes,
Like,
and they were locked up, man. Like
yeah.
she hit some spots and they fucking, it hurt, quivered, the spasming, all of it. So yeah, I do definitely think I have tight hip flexors. And
Yeah.
she sent me home with stretches too. And I can tell when I'm better about the stretching, the back feels better when I wake up in the morning. So, and it's really important right now to get 2 or 3 days of rest in a row. So I've been trying to do that as well.
Yeah, well, there you go. A little bit of insight if you're out there listening and you've ever wondered about dry noodling. There you go. I know, new with me this week, we just dropped our fat muscle chocolate caramel whey isolate. That's been super, super popular. Worked on that shit to get it right for like 6 months. So we just dropped that. And then I do have my next class. I don't have a date in December. It's probably gonna be early December for the advanced dieting strategies where I go through and show people how to set up macros. And it's not a beginner class, really. There's a lot of coaches out there that get clients that come to them and they're not tracking their food. And I've set up basically a bulletproof system on how to set up their protein, carbs, fats, calories, just based on where they're at, starting weight and stuff like that. And then they can use biofeedback from there. So it's been a pretty popular class. I've sold it out twice now. So I'm going to be doing that in December. You guys can shoot me an email. It's in the show notes. Other than that, man, just busy. I know Thanksgiving's coming up. So, we're going to have a lot of people kind of chilling. I think we talked about this on the last podcast. I don't really do a lot of food additions and stuff like that when we've got Thanksgiving coming up, and I let that kind of be their extra food for the week. So just plugging along. So guys, here's the thing. We're almost to 400. We're at like 393 reviews. We're almost at 400 mark. Then we're going to give away some Fat Muscle Project supplements. So go ahead and leave a review, screenshot that, post it, tag us. We're getting close and we're going to start picking 3 winners. So go ahead and do that. We'll watch for that on Instagram stories. You guys know where to find us. If you ever want to send questions, just send them to my email. It's in the show notes. We've got 4 really good questions here, man. I'm going to go ahead and start off with Beth McCann. She says, what do I look for on labs to find out if inflammation is high? And why is it important to not let it get too high? I love the show. Thank you guys so much for giving out all the information for us to learn from. Jason, this is a good question, man, because, a lot of us that have been doing this for a long time, we've got to remember lab work's new to a lot of people in this industry. They don't understand what to look for with inflammation, and they don't really understand what that means.
Right.
When did you start looking for information on labs?
Well, I mean, inflammation comes in many forms. High glucose is going to cause inflammation,
Right.
So there's a lot of different markers we need to look at. CRP, the C-reactive protein, is what's going to show internal whole system inflammation. That's kind of more the marker to look for that. But like I said, if you have high glucose, you've got inflammation. Think about it. Diabetes, is an inflammatory disease. And that's why those who have diabetes are more afflicted by COVID, because it goes after people with inflammation, and it's a 1 + 2 is 5 situation.
Right.
So blood glucose, got to check it. Got to check your fasted insulin, because if that's raised, even if your blood glucose is good, you're inflamed. Even cholesterol, becomes an issue when you're inflamed. And so if your cholesterol is running high, it can be genetic, but you could also be having issues with inflammation. If your TPOAB, which is a thyroid marker, is high, that's autoimmunity. You're going to have inflammation because it's attacking your thyroid. So the main marker for me is CRP, to keep it simple, but there's a lot of things that you really have to look at and understand that that's causing inflammation in your body. So I don't know, Drew, which direction you want to go, if that was enough, but I mean, there's more than just one marker.
I'm just, I'm going to tell you the people I normally see at highest in, but I have a question. When did you actually start looking at inflammation with your clients? We weren't doing this shit back in 2007, 2008, 2009. I wasn't looking at it back then. When did you start paying attention to that?
Probably 2016.
Okay. I was going to say, for me, it was like 2018. I started to pay attention to it. And dude, the people that I see at the highest end are and like I've said multiple times on this show, I wrote the damn book, Flexible Fat Loss Solution. It's real heavy on being able to just eat the food you want, hit your macros, and that's fine. Like there's places for that. But I see inflammation the highest in these extreme flexible dieters, man. People that really want to push the limits on eating a lot of sugary shit and just, candy bars and stuff like that, just constantly Pop Tarts, ice cream, things like that. That's where I see it come back the highest. What kind of situations are you seeing it the highest in? Mostly stress related, or
I'm seeing more stress related
yeah,
because I don't have clients that I allow to really eat that way. If I do have, a pre-intra post where I'm using more sugars, they're also going to be using insulin. They're probably on metformin. Those are
right,
advanced protocols. Usually if I have someone using intra and they're not on all that, it's going to be 30, 40 grams. That's not going to cause inflammation. You know what I mean? So really for my client base, it's going to be more someone who's on just too much PEDs. And, you can always be cautious, but it could be too much for them. And then I see it in a lot of people who don't deal with stress really well. And then you've got your high cortisol situation, which is also another inflammatory type situation in the body. And you might see CRP kind of rise in those situations.
yeah, I agree. I don't really let my clients eat like assholes all the time anymore. I allow a little bit of flexibility, but
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, I just started to really see the blowback, back in 2015 when I wrote that. I wasn't looking at inflammation, and people had asked me, and I was like, fuck it. My people are losing weight. They're getting shredded on stage. If they're losing 80 pounds and they're a lifestyle client, well, they're fucking healthier. But sometimes you have to look beyond just the numbers. I
Yeah.
was a macro coach back then. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you come back high, some things that I do is, I see how people are sleeping. I see how they're eating. Like you said, like we might have to, pull some more of, the fun foods out. Again, I'm not a big fan of hitting macros that way. And if I'm building your diet, they're not even in there. There's a time and place once a week if you want to get a snack treat. But I use a product called PRM Resolve. I believe that's what it's called by Nutridyne. And that is a skirm, which is a highly scientific situation. I would have to go back and review it. I didn't get a chance to review it for the show, but look up PRM Resolve. And it's awesome for fighting inflammation. But so is like getting more omega-3s in the diet, cleaning the diet up, sleeping well, all those things underlying first, taking a look at your stress and how you manage it, getting to bed earlier. All that's going to help way before you need to throw a supplement into the mix.
yeah. What are your thoughts on removing gluten? And I know this, but I'm asking as a
Yeah.
listener that's thinking of questions. What are your thoughts on removing gluten?
So if you've got evidence of, some sort of autoimmunity, definitely. Gluten expresses zonulin, which is basically the only thing that can kind of really cause the tight junctions of the stomach lining to kind of separate a bit. And that's where you kind of get, toxins in the bloodstream that really shouldn't be there, can cause autoimmunity. So if you have situations like that where you're eating gluten and you're bloating, you're having stomach pain, cramps, then remove it. But if you're someone who can eat gluten with no problem, then I'm not one of those that beat the drum like, oh, gluten's, evil.
Right.
It's just kind of a case by case situation. And if someone's having those types of issues anyways with gut lining, I'm going to pull dairy and alcohol as well.
Right. Let's move on to the next question. This comes from Andy. This is addressed to me, but obviously we can both answer this. John, I heard you mention somewhere that HRT can lead to a faster metabolism. Can you explain what you mean by that? I didn't think testosterone itself sped up the metabolism. And this is one of those things where I can't remember where I was talking about this. Maybe it was like an old Ask a Diet Coach video. And people really need to understand when someone says something like this, you understand what kind of goes into it.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about our show. So if you go back and listen to, we break down how hormones work in the body and the systems of the body. You can go back and listen to things like cortisol, episode 2, our deep dive there, and how to optimize testosterone levels, episode 3. But here's what I meant by, HRT, for example, can help you have a faster metabolism. When you understand it's not like testosterone is going to go stimulate your thyroid or anything. That's not what I'm saying. But you think about how it works in the body. If you have low testosterone, your cortisol is naturally going to be it's going to be up a little bit higher. And a lot of the times high cortisol is causing people to have low testosterone, especially in females. So when you get on HRT, it suppresses cortisol some. Well, your thyroid also can speed up. So you actually have a little bit faster metabolism. When you're dieting, you hold on to more muscle. So your metabolism can be a little bit faster if you're dieting on HRT, or in the off season, if you just have more
Building
muscle.
muscle. Yeah.
Yeah, like you have a faster metabolism. So that's kind of what I meant whenever I said that. But I don't want people to think, if they go back and watch one of those old videos, I'm saying, hey, just take testosterone and speed your metabolism up.
Yeah.
That's where it becomes important to kind of understand how the body works, and that's what we try to do with this show. Is there anything that you want to add to that?
Yeah, I would just add a few other things, and I can add a case study here. So feed efficiency is going to improve with any testosterone or hormone, like Primobolan, equipoise. They're all built from testosterone. So by feed efficiency improving, meaning you can store more amino acids in the muscle, you can store more carbohydrates in the muscle. I had a client who literally, he follows his HRT religiously. He's not really into blasting much. We've ran maybe 2 cycles in 4 years. Well, his digestion went to shit, and we're trying all this stuff. And I'm like, well, let's just get some labs. So we get some labs. His testosterone was in the tank, even though he's on HRT, and it's from a clinic. Soon as we get that fixed, digestion just kind of picks up, weight comes up. So he was able to eat more. He was bogged down on the same macros when his test plummeted that he was fine on when he was on, when he was hitting around 1,100 nanograms per deciliter with 200 milligrams per week. So you can see how that bogged him down, and he was unable to eat the same amount.
Interesting. Yeah. So it's just something for people to understand. That's how the body works. And when you start to look at things in that way, then you really start to understand what the body's capable of. Next question comes from Nick Maurer. Good question here. Can a natural physique athlete benefit from lifting more than once in a day if food, rest, and hormones are optimized? And this is a good question because there are places for this. There are definitely not places for this. I'll go ahead and kick this off. There's been some studies done with training twice a day, 6 days a week in short bursts and I can't remember this. I should have looked this up for the show. I just didn't have time. I can't remember who did the studies. But I remember hearing about these at the University of Tampa whenever I went to their first seminar there in 2014. There were studies that showed that people that train 6 days a week, same body parts twice in a day. So you train push body parts early in the morning, and you train push body parts again later on that evening. And you did that 6 days a week, but you only did it for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It showed that strength, muscle, and everything went up. It was extreme overreaching is what it was.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but people hear that and they think, well, fuck, I'm going to do that all the time. That quote unquote, that's what Arnold did back in the day. And, but the question was from a natural athlete. So are there times that that's possible? Jason, what are your thoughts on that? I have a lot of natural athletes. I never have them train twice a day.
No, I never have them do this either. Most of my clients have lives. They're not pro bodybuilders who, only have to coach 20 athletes. I don't even have time for this shit. And I work from home. Like, I wish I did. But that would literally be your job. And those are the top, 5 Olympians in the world who, still have contracts that are maybe 6-figure. That's,
right.
All they do. But I'm with you. I was going to say if it's 2 to 3 weeks and it's an extreme overreaching situation, maybe, but like the person who wrote the question said, if I get my calories right and I'm maxed out for recovery, sure, I think you can benefit from it. But as a natural, I think 2 to 3 weeks is going to be tops on it. And then you're going to need to pull back off that.
Yeah.
Realistically, how much muscle are you really adding in 2 to 3 weeks? Like, okay, you're stronger, but is it really worth it to family time, joints, recovery, sleep? I think this whole sport has to be a lifestyle and there has to be balance to it. And that just sounds to me like overkill for a natural athlete.
Yeah, I agree as well, man. I think, you always hear it's a marathon, not a sprint, but nothing is probably more apparent than to answer that question where you're probably going to make better gains long-term to kind of make it a lifestyle, kind of like you said. I'd rather see someone get a really good workout and train a little bit more once a day than trying to cram in twice a day for a short period. So, yeah, I think that's hard to measure.
If someone's, cranking on insulin both times, and they got their growth hormone going. They've got a good amount of test support, and they can crank in 5,000 calories. Yeah, man, go for it. Hit those biceps in the morning, go back for triceps, get that double stimulation still to the bis that second time around. But, I just don't think that's most people's lives, especially not a natural bodybuilder.
Yeah. All right. Next question comes from Anthony Cortez. This is a fun question. What's the biggest eye opener you both have seen now that you are involved in the supplement industry and own supplement companies? What's something that you can pass on for us to be aware of? Maybe it's something to watch for on a label or anything of that nature. Man, obviously you've been doing this longer than I have. I've been around the supplement industry. Like I said, I was a first form for a long time, like 6 years. And, we're 6 months into owning my own company now, probably close to a year of behind the scenes building it. I've got some stuff to pass along, but you've been doing this longer, man. Is there anything that you think would benefit people to understand when it comes to supplements, like anything to watch for, big eye openers you think people just need to know about?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't go for any proprietary blends these days because there's so many companies out there that are willing to share the formula and figure, well, if it gets ripped off, it gets ripped off, but my clientele know what they're taking. So I've never been a fan of proprietary blends. And if someone doesn't know what that means, the manufacturer will call it like the pump matrix. And then they'll tell you it's 8 grams. And then they list all the ingredients below, but they don't tell you which has the most amount. So, if they list EAAs under there, you might be getting a half a gram of EAAs and a bunch of taurine, and taurine's not doing dick for you, but it lists taurine and it says EAA, and taurine's cheap as fuck. So now they've, built a pre-workout that cost them $8 and they're selling it to you for 50. So that's a big one. And then, just to bring out a good product, a truly good product where in a facility that runs testing after, tests everything that comes in, GCM, the GMP standards, all those different things. The margins aren't what you think they are. And it takes time to build a true supplement company and become profitable because of that. If you truly put in what you say is in the label. And so that's what we do at New Ethics. And we've done well with that. People say they feel what's in, they feel our shit work. So, those would be my things. And, in this day and age, there's a lot of supplement companies out there where the owners are out and about. Like, do you trust them? Like, do you trust those owners? Like, look at their shit. If it's a company that's still ran by a board of, 5 people that only care about profits, well, do you ever see the owner of Optimum Nutrition? I don't know who the fuck it is. So that's not to say they aren't good. I have no idea. I've never tested their shit. I'm just saying there are companies out there like yours and mine, and there's plenty of others where the owners are active and they're the ones answering the questions and they're the ones getting back to you. And I don't know. For me, that would be probably who I would trust more than, a board of directors of 5 old dudes who are built to maximize profits.
Yeah. Yeah. There's 2 things I want to touch on. And one, I want to kind of throw to you. I'll get to that one in a second. The one thing that I think people should look for on protein is you need to really look at the total amount of protein in a tub of protein. How many servings are in there, and then look at the weight. Because here's what a lot of people don't realize. These 2-pound tubs, they all look the same. So there's some big companies out there. You're actually only getting 1.5 pounds of whey protein, where, in someone like mine or other people, you're getting 2 pounds, but they're not, the price is still the same. So that's a way that people kind of skim off the top. You know what I mean? Companies skim off the top. You might only be getting 1.5 pounds of protein instead of 2 pounds, or if you are getting 1.5 pounds, cool. Just make sure you're paying for that. And that was something that, I'm not going to get into it, but I kind of exposed a little bit of that in a post that I made that kind of went fucking viral. We're just going to leave that one alone. I'm not going to go there anymore, but you guys know what I'm talking about. The other thing, Jason, is medical grade versus consumer grade supplements. And I think that's what a lot of people don't realize. And we've kind of tried to model our manufacturing practices after what you guys do at New Ethics, because it's right. You guys are right up there at the very top. You know exactly what's going into your products. You have the COAs, the whole 9 yards. But a lot of people don't realize the difference between medical grade, such as what New Ethics has. And, I've got manufacturers that fit the bill there too. And then consumer grade, what you see in, drugstores and grocery stores and stuff like that. how can people kind of know the difference there and what they're looking for?
Oof.
I mean, obviously it's a price. There's a
I
huge
mean,
price difference,
yeah,
right?
it's comes down to a pricing and trusting the company that is putting it out. And they're, like I said, like you said, we put our COAs out. That's our certificate of analysis. You can see what's in the product. But it really comes down to the testing of the raws as they come in the door, to make sure there's no microbials, all these different like levels to it. And you're going to pay more for that, but the product's going to work. So, I don't know if you have a better answer. I don't really have an answer, that says this is on the label, because we really can't make that you can make that kind of claim, but like it has more to do with like the manufacturers that are chosen, and then the level of analysis and how they make everything to standard.
Yeah.
That goes into it. I don't know. Maybe you have a better answer.
Well, and I know with you guys, you post those COAs, those certificate
Yeah.
of analysis, on your website. You're
Yes.
one of the only companies I know that does that.
Right.
If anybody ever wants to see mine, I can provide those. I don't post it, not for any reason, just besides the fact it's just fuck, man, I just haven't done it.
Yeah.
But that's nice too. And I know that some of the companies that you use and that I use, they're CGMP, they're
Yeah.
certified good manufacturing. GMP is great too.
Yeah.
But there are some places that are also inspected by the NSF. Your main company, we're not going to throw their names out there. Your main company does that for sure. Those are all medical grade supplements. You'll see them go to places like doctors' offices and stuff like that.
Correct.
Versus where you see consumer grade, you see the Body Fortresses of the world.
Yes.
You see these 2-pound tubs of protein for $19. Folks, I'm telling you, you're not getting a quality grade product. And they're using they're not using like whey protein isolate.
No.
They're using WPC fucking 30 and 40. So you're just getting rot gut shit. You're not getting quality.
And
Price is always going to
trade
trump
a lot of farts with it too.
Yeah. I mean, you're getting bloated. So price is always, the main thing. You get what you pay for. So, and that's all 4 questions here. Nice, fun episode. I love these Ask Us Anything episodes. We get so many questions. We're probably going to start doing more of these just because we're getting so many questions as we grow. Nothing else here to add, man. If you guys are listening, just make sure to leave those reviews and check out the show notes to send us either a message for questions or check out these classes we have coming up. So we're going to call it a day. For myself and Jason, we're out of here. Thanks, guys.
See ya.